pandemic got us into a reflective space and made us look inward to see what we can do for the world at large. As a self-expression coach, I became a catalyst for women and started Vani, a one-on-one coaching program for women on finding their voice, to speak up, to be visible. As a storyteller, I spotted there were many ordinary people amongst us leading extraordinary lives, making a difference to the world, and they needed to be heard. Thus was born You and I with Rashmi Shetty, where amazing personal journeys with their uniqueness and individuality are showcased, a reaffirmation of the fact: open your eyes wider. The world is far more beautiful when we acknowledge the presence of both you and I. Our guest today is Dimple Parmar, someone who knows firsthand what it's like to face cancer up close. She chose love and married her husband even when she knew he had only 6 months left. Though she lost him to the disease, that tough experience gave her a new purpose. Dimple is the founder of cancer care startup ZenOnco.io and the NGO Love Heals Cancer. These are not just organizations. They are her way of filling the gaps she saw when dealing with cancer herself. She wants to help as many people as possible live better and longer lives when facing this disease. Educated at IIM Calcutta and certified in integrative oncology from Arizona State University, Dimple is all about mixing compassion with knowledge and technology. Through her startup ZenOnco.io, she supports patients with value-based integrative oncology care to improve their quality of life, leading to better clinical outcomes and extending lives. It's inspiring how she has turned her personal loss into a mission to help others. She's all about making life better for those dealing with cancer. Her goal is very clear. Her mission is important, and she's committed to making a real difference. Hi, Dimple. First of all, very, very happy New Year. And I should tell you that this conversation was something that I always thought should happen last year. But I think the universe conspired to make it happen in the new year. And you'll be my first guest for the You and I podcast in the new year. So welcome to You and I with Rashmi Shetty.
Thank you so much, Rashmi. It's a pleasure to be here with you. And I'm happy that I'm the first speaker for 2024. And I'm sure with the wonderful message that you're spreading around with the world, we'll have many more wonderful podcasts with many inspiring and beautiful souls who are doing some amazing work. And I'm very proud to be here with you today. Looking forward to this.
Likewise, Dimple, because you've been one of those souls who's been doing great work over the last few years. But before we get to your work, I would love to know what little Dimple was like to the Dimple Parmar that the world knows you today as. What was your childhood like? Where were you born, brought up? And what was your entire growing up years like?
Definitely, Rashmi. So my childhood was in a small village called Pashpadra in Badmer district, and that's where I got born and also spent my early childhood 12 years living with my grandparents and parents. That's my native, and in that village, a very small village. So we studied in Hindi medium, and I wanted to do everything. So I was a part of many sports and extracurricular and many other activities in early 5 years, and had good time. My grandfather was in his time he was principal, so I got my tuition, my mentoring, my coaching, everything from him. And then I moved to a girls' school in sixth onwards. Didn't have really, I would say, because it was in a very remote place and didn't have access to good education or even better facilities or extracurricular. The learning was kind of a bit slow during that phase. Kind of person, I know me, I wanted to do a lot more during that time, learn more, and Later in later years of schooling, we moved to Badmer. We moved to Bikaner, where I did my next phase of schooling. So I decided that I'm going to go for engineering because mathematics was my favorite subject, while my father wanted me to be a doctor. So I did listen to him and went for biology. That was not my cup of tea. And that too, I challenged myself that I'm going to study in English medium because I knew that the future, it's important to know this and the career decisions and the career growth as well. So I went against all odds and did 11th in English medium in biology, and it was a nightmare for me. So I always been the topper since childhood because my grandfather and his education and everything. And that time I had a big setback, and I myself was not happy with what I was doing. So I repeated class 11th, and this time I took mathematics, and I was in 10th and in 12th, I was among the, I actually topped Rajasthan board among girls. I was the first one. So I really I had good time during that phase. And then I wanted to do engineering. I appeared for IIT and Triple E, and then went to MNIT Jaipur, where I did chemical engineering. And again, like I first time college, and I wanted to do almost experience everything. So I did participate in Civic Mackay Cultural Society, Zine, Robotic Society. I was part of college 7 sports team and captain of lawn tennis and whatnot. So I had great time during those 4 years. And then I worked with Reliance Industries for 2 years. Post when I was doing that, I realized that I want to do more. I want to I was not happy with myself. I wanted to really, expand my horizon into a lot more things. And I always have this had this social angle also within me, that I wanted to do something good for people, something that I can meaningfully contribute in the society. But I never got that opportunity. I knew that it's within me, but I really don't know how to really, transform that into something. So I kept on learning things, exploring things, and I was never satisfied with one thing, is what I can say about myself. Always wanting to do more and more. So I when I was working with Reliance, I actually prepared for MBA, and I went to IIM Calcutta. When I went to IIM Calcutta, I again was part of sports 7 teams and everything. And finally, I was like, okay, this is what I wanted to achieve, and that's where I am today. As I said, I wanted to do more, so I actually founded a startup called Zappel, which was into women customized footwear. That was in the first year of college. I was inspired by my classmate Nitesh, who was also an entrepreneur during that time. And
Wait,
uh,
wait, one sec. There is so much you have done, you wanted to do more. But before you stepped into MBA, Dimple, I'll take a couple of steps back. What kept telling you that you needed to do something useful to society? You in college, every college student aspires to be part of everything and be famous in college.
yeah.
Clearly, you got all of it right, and you were there in everything. And I'm sure you must have been one of the most popular girls in college as well. But what prompted you, looking back now? What is it that the bug was that told you that you have to be useful to society? How did that even come to you?
So, what I can, see looking at my last 30 years or early childhood, when I was in village, I knew that, of course, I had better facilities in terms of my education, or in terms of my grandfather's support, other things. So I always, and I was also class monitor for initial 10 years. So I had this within me to support others, but I really didn't know at that time how to really, transform this. But when I went to MNIT Jaipur, that time I got better opportunity, and I was giving tuition to a few kids, and seeing that where I can contribute. But again, I would say it was not really in that meaningful way I wanted. At IIM Calcutta, I got better opportunity, and that's when I opened a society called Unnati. So, as a part of Unnati, we were actually giving tuition to kids of our helpers. So,
Mm.
guards and the helpers in the kitchen and hostels. So, we formed a society, and a couple of us got together, and then we started giving tuition to them Delhi. So I got inspired by Vinayak Lohani, who is IIM Calcutta alum, and today he's running Parivar from last 20 plus years. And I was really inspired by the way he has, used his knowledge, education, network, and everything else. And he was inspired by Swami Vivekananda. So I said, okay, we have access to facilities, so why not putting it to good use? And then we friends did it together. So that's when I thought that, okay, yeah, because the satisfaction that it gave me was something which is very different. And no matter how much name or fame or everything that you get, but that one thing that you do, at the end of the day, you feel like you have added value to someone's life. And even if it's a 1 hour or 10 hours, doesn't matter. So that's when I felt that, yeah. But again, as I said, that um, things kept on moving forward, like studies and IIM Calcutta and everything else. And today, what I'm doing for cancer patients, I believe that that's an opportunity that I got through Nitesh to do something meaningful.
Yeah,
And
so bringing in Nitesh now, you said that, so you spoke about Unnati now when you were in IIM Camp, but you were also in your first year and you started this entrepreneurial startup with Nitesh. So can you tell us a little on that? And how did you parallelly manage the two? Because one was for profit and the other one was completely for service.
right. So, when I was in first year, I was running Unnati, which is a club from IIM Calcutta campus, and so we were teaching kids all together. And secondly, when I started my own startup called Zappel, and Nitesh had his own startup Appetite, so we both were running. And then I got the news that he got diagnosed with cancer. So that was something which was a big setback for me, because a very young person, just 25 years of age, a very good friend, a very inspiring and aspiring entrepreneur, somebody who had a similar childhood as mine and wanted to really achieve something or achieve in his life. And finally, he was at a place where good education, like good startup, and everything else, and this came. So when that happened, I I was kind of doing caregiving for him as a friend. I was touched, and I was also feeling empathetic towards him. And he was, because he was deeply involved in his startup, he didn't have many friends back in college. So I thought, okay, let me be the one. And so the medical treatment and the fundraising, insurance, talking to professors, director in college, and everything else, service, moving him to separate unit so that he has better facilities or hygiene and everything else. I was taking care of all of it, and parallelly I was running my startup and academics. Of course, it was not easy. When I look back now, I really don't know how I did it. Even today, when I look back and uh, see what all I have done, I really don't know. I just believe that when you really want to do something with pure heart and intentions, God just give you power and energy and direction and strength to go through it. And that's what I also felt. So 1 year went by, and we graduated on the same, and in the same journey of 1 year, we came closer, fell in love. And we had to take a decision to pause our startups, because health was taking a toll. And the startup was also, we were not able to do justice to the startup also. So we thought that, okay, we'll pause it for some time, and so that we can focus on academics, because that was one in opportunity that we got, and we wanted to make the best out of it. And at the same time, health was priority. So we did that, and we got engaged on our graduation day. Um, the 1 year was very difficult time, along with chemotherapy cycles and surgeries, and the bed rest and everything, and the academics. It was really difficult, but we graduated, and on the same day of graduation, we also got engaged, and finally hoping for a new chapter of our lives, because last 1 year was full of struggle. And
And he got cured completely from his
no,
cancer.
he was still undergoing treatment, and a few cycles were left. And we were deeply in love by that time. And my parents always and always supported us in this journey. So my mom just asked me one question, that will the cancer come back? And I said, no, it won't. Uh, for two reasons. One was I really wanted to be with him, and secondly, I was unaware how cancer works. So, irrespective, my decision was firm. So, we went back to our homes after graduation, and the plan was to. So I started my job, and he was also supposed to start his training. Meanwhile, he went for a routine checkup, and after he finished the treatment, and doctor said that. He said that I'm going to get married and also I'm going to Singapore for training. So do I have your yes? And doctor said that yeah, you look good. Your scans are all no, your parameters are normal. Why don't you go for MRI? And he went for the MRI, and we got to know in that he has stage 4 cancer. So cancer never went away; it was always there, and this time it is very aggressive. It's in all of his body. It is metastatic stage 4 colorectal cancer. Um, that time for us, everything just crashed, and we had dreams, ambitions. We wanted to be together. We wanted to do a lot of things. We felt that after that 1 year of struggling phase, finally we are together and we'll start a new life. But we didn't know that there were dark clouds coming over, and it took me a few days to come to even absorb this news. And his doctor separately told me that he has only 6 months to live, which was something that I couldn't accept or didn't understand. And because I always believed that there is always hope, miracles do exist. If the Sati Savitri can bring her husband back from death, then so can I. And that's the hope and faith that kept on giving me strength to fight through this. I took sabbatical from my job, which I just started, and I completely dedicated my life towards his care. He moved in with me, and we started his next phase of treatment. We did fundraising and everything else. And I kept on going through thousands of literatures and speaking to thousands of people, planning for research, clinical trials, and everything else across the globe. Took 30 plus opinions. I wanted to leave no stone unturned and then just try everything that's possible in the world. I had this hope that he'll be fine. And with that faith, I got married to him. Again, my parents were very supportive of this decision, and they gave their blessings to do what all I want to do just to make him better. And we went to US for clinical trials and advanced treatment. His health kept on deteriorating very fast because young age, very aggressive colorectal cancer, and and we didn't know what to do, what decisions to take, how to navigate through this journey. And in terms of lifestyle, treatment, managing funds, managing side effects, managing relations, home, and everything else, we just were unaware. There was a lot to do, and we are very thankful to our friends and family support who came together and then supported us, did a lot of work, research, and everything for us. We went to US, and that's when we were again lost because it's a new country for us, and it was not as easy as I had imagined. And thanks to Vinayak Lohani, I mentioned, who connected us to Karya family, a Gujarati family in US, Los Angeles, who came to meet us. And when they saw us in this condition, they were deeply, they were very emotional, and they said that you can't survive like this here. You need a proper home, you need love, you need care, you yourself need a lot of care. How will you take care of him? He was in a very bad situation. He lost his voice, his vocal cord got paralyzed, he was continuously coughing, he lost 40 kilos of weight, and he was kind of going through depression. I myself was going through depression looking at him, because I wanted him to get better. And things were out of control completely. His cancer kept on growing. And then that family kind of adopted us. And it's been now 7 years, and I see angels, gods in them, who took us in their home, took care of us for 8 months. And everything that we needed, everything that he needed, that love, that family, that support, that compassion, that care, we got everything in Karya family. And with time, his condition also started getting worse. And we, no matter how hard we tried, unfortunately, we lost him in March 2018. Remember that, a few months before his passing, I could see him as a very transformed soul who wanted to do something good for people, give back, while he himself was on bed rest. And he said, because I always have seen him as somebody who is very sharp focused, cutthroat, or very, focused on the success and the power and the name and fame and everything. And that time, after going through this journey, I could see that he was a very humble, down to earth person who wanted to give back, who wanted to, even during that time, was thinking about people. So, and I loved him the most during that time, because I really wanted us to be going through that phase together of doing good. And, because we, after going through this deep experience, we both felt that there's a lot that to be done in this space for people, and we ourselves was struggling and suffering, and we still had access to the best care and resources, but still we were suffering. But unfortunately, we lost him, and that's the time I decided to do something good. And I felt that because I was not able to understand why all this happened in just 1.5 years period time. Two strangers come together, both entrepreneurs fall in love, take care of each other. He got diagnosed with cancer, and then caregiving for him, falling in love, and then suddenly his cancer coming back, and then within 6 months he um, moved on. So I was not able to accept, to understand, and then what I could see, and I was trying to find the deeper meaning behind it, a spiritual purpose, and what I could see that perhaps this was the journey that I was destined for. To because I always had this within me that I wanted to do something good, but never got a right opportunity. And maybe God chose me for him, so that we can be together. At the same time, I got this purpose via Nitesh to do something meaningful. So I felt that what about millions of other people who get diagnosed, but they don't have access to the information, resources, and most importantly, hope. So I wanted to give hope to millions, and that's the mission that I took on. That's the purpose that I could see from his um, journey. And I started NGO Love Heals Cancer. And while I was working with Love Heals Cancer, I also got trained in US on integrative oncology, because I strongly felt that that added a lot of value in his quality of life, and also in smooth journey. So I wanted to go deeper, and I got right mentors, scientists who supported me in this journey, guided me, and I came back to India and started Love Heals Cancer. While I was working on Love Heals Cancer, I felt that the gaps are huge in cancer care, and suffering is real. Suffering is a lot. And while NGO has limitations in terms of supporting a particular segment of people or in a particular way, there are caregivers like me who was looking for much deeper care and personalized support. So, and I felt that I can actually do both together, while catering to both kind of segment of people together. And me and one of my friend Kishan from IIM Calcutta, we three were friends. He was working with JP Morgan investment banking and private equity GIC, and he was volunteering with us. And when he saw the journey and again the suffering and the struggle of people, he was moved, and he said that with all the resources, the knowledge, education, and everything that we got, we should put it to good use and then start something which can help masses, millions. So I and Kishan together started Zenonco.io. Onco is oncology, cancer care. IO stands for integrative oncology, and Zen is peace and harmony and love, which I believed in, because one may not get cured in this journey, but one can definitely get healed. And that's the healing that Nitesh got. So I started Zenonco.io with Kishan, and today we are running both ventures together, Love Heals Cancer and Zenonco.io, where we are guiding patients, helping them end to end, and being their companion. No matter what their needs are, we are always there for them. So that's been my journey in this space.
Oh my God. This is so powerful, Dimple. You went through a transformation yourself. Uh, Nitesh's transformation and yours parallelly happening. And then you start this NGO, Love Heals Cancer. It's such a powerful name. When you set out on Love Heals Cancer as a name, was it the healing that is happening internally for a person who is diagnosed with cancer, both as the person, the patient, and the caregiver? Is that how you looked at it when you came up with the name Love Heals Cancer?
Right. So, you know what? So when Nitesh and I, we were together working on this concept, and we wrote in our notebooks what all things we should do and everything, and then we gave this name. he gave this name, How Love Can Defeat Cancer. And when he passed away, I was reflecting over this and I said, it's not a battle to win or lose or to get defeated or to fight. It's a journey to be healed. And I believe that the kind of love and support we received from thousands of strangers who supported us across the globe, from these families who took us in, from nature, from Nitesh, from everybody else, it was healing that we were receiving. So that healing healed him, that healing healed me. And that's how I gave the name Love Heals Cancer.
Since you've been through the process, I just want to ask you a question. I'm curious at this point. When you said that healing healed you, how did you realize you were healed? Nitesh moved on, the people around you remained. You were there alone. When you say it healed me, what do you mean by the healing process?
So when this happened, and all of a sudden, for me, there was an empty space that's been created. There was a huge void, and because my entire life revolved around him last 2 years, all of a sudden he was no more, and I had nothing to do. While I was completely devoted, dedicated for him, and I felt like what has happened and why this has happened. There were so many questions I had to myself, to God, and only one answer I found, that perhaps this is the purpose of life. Maybe he had only this much of life, and maybe I got opportunity to help him and give him those better few months or days that I could give him. Uh, Perhaps this is the purpose that I received through him, to do something for other cancer patients. And that's when I realized that I'm healing, I'm getting healed. Because if this purpose was not there, I'm not sure what I would have done or what would have happened to me. But only that inner calling that I had. I remember one day so I recorded a lot of videos of myself, talking to God after Nitesh left. And when I was talking to God, and then it's more of internal inner reflections. I was talking to myself, and then all of a sudden I had this realization that maybe this is the purpose. And I started getting already calls from other people who were diagnosed with cancer from India, and they were needing some other kind of support. So I already started helping them, and I felt that I'm getting better when I'm helping others, when I'm, able to contribute in someone's life, because journey was very deep experience. And that's how slowly, as I walked on this path, I'm really thankful to Nipun Mehta, who's from Service Space, who first gave me guidance, who heard me for hours and hours, my tears and my journey and everything. And I mean, one more thing I would like to say here: if you know somebody who is going through some deep experience, some setbacks, something losses in their life, it's always good to provide them a ear to listen to. And because when they speak and you listen, no matter how long, it really heals them a lot. So I met many wonderful souls like him, and he connected me to Michael Lerner, who became my mentor in cancer care journey. Who Michael has 50 years of experience in cancer care. So many wonderful souls, people who were around me, supported me as I started my next phase of this journey. And my own patients, who are and who were my source of strength when I was navigating through the journey. So what I understood from this journey, that the world is, and Nitesh said the same thing, the world is beautiful and people are wonderful. uh, if you need help, if you need any kind of emotional, any kind of support, societal or anything, you just need to speak it out, and there will be many people who will be there to support you. So and that's when I felt that I need to give back. I need to be the same person who also give back to others the same love that I received. And when we receive, it's more, when we give back to people, it's not something that, we are doing great work. It's just that the satisfaction that we receive when we give is something that's immense. It's very good, and that is something that I kept on doing, and it's kept on healing me, and that became my motivation.
Wow. And was your state that got reflected in the title as well? Because you are now in that Zen state that it became zenonco.io.
Yeah. So Zen, what I have understood from this journey, that no matter what journey we go through in our own lives, personal, professional, relation, anything that we go through, ultimately we all are looking for is peace, love, harmony with self, harmony with others, in family, in office, everywhere else. And when we go through such deep experiences, um, what matters is, are we okay? Uh, are we settled down in our thoughts, in our heart, in our mind? And it's not a question to be answered for others, it's a question to be answered for self. And I speak to thousands of patients, and what everybody, and the most thing that everybody connects with when we talk about love, when we talk about this common definition of harmony and peace, and that's how the word Zen came in, because I believe that this word that we all need in our life always.
Yeah, because that's a beautiful state to be in, but very difficult to achieve with all that is happening around us. So here you were, Love Heals Cancer, and your motive was what? To support both the patients and the caregivers?
Yeah,
Was it a parallel thing that you wanted to do? So
right.
how did you go ahead? Like you had a team of volunteers who were reaching out to people who reached out to you. How did you carry this journey on?
You're right. So when I started Love Is Cancer, and there were many people, thousands of other people who were either moved by my own journey, or who had cancer in their own families or friends, and they wanted to also give back. But one thing that I noticed, that people who have gone through this experience, they always want to give back and help others in their own capacity, in their own meaningful ways. So we all got together, and because we all are connected by a common thread, a common purpose of helping patients and people. And then so I formed this community of wonderful volunteers who have been through, they are survivors, they're ex-caregivers, they are healthcare professionals, or they are some people wanting to help others. So today we have 10,000 plus volunteers, and we started, so first we formed a kind of curriculum, if you're guiding patients medically, or if you're guiding, if we are patient navigators, then there has to be a particular in which we need to guide patients. So I got that together, and then we started training everybody else. And also we started visiting lodging places in dharamshalas where a lot of patients live together. So because they need a lot of support, be it emotional or financial, or because they leave their villages, their towns, and come to metro cities for treatment, and they're completely lost there. So any kind gesture that you give them, it means a lot to them. So so we all got together, and then with donations, with our own funds, with other support, we started Love Heals Cancer. And we supported patients with healing circles, emotional support, healing psychology sessions, and also with groceries, nutrition, food, supplements, sanitary hygiene, and different needs that they had. So we used to visit and then supporting patients with those needs. And then more requests kept on coming from other caregivers who were looking for more deeper care and support, and they were okay to go to any extent, like how I was okay, that I want to, anything is possible, I want to do. And that's when we felt that the need is much more than what we are doing. So we started first Zenonco with our own efforts, and then we made this a venture. Yeah.
And I was of one of your healing circles. And I remember the number of tears that were shared and shed when Hina was sharing her story. So, and I realized that it was therapeutic for me, though I don't have anyone close right now, but I had lost an aunt to cancer. And so it was really therapy for me when I sat through that. And that was the first time I was sitting through a healing circle, but it drained a lot of me as well. Now, when you're doing that day in and day out, Dimple, and you're meeting so many people, you're listening to so many people, you're giving so much of yourself, I'm sure you feel drained as well. Have you ever said no? Do you say no at all? Is the word there in your dictionary?
I mean, it's a very apt question, I would say, because it does happen to us also, our counselors, our team members, to myself as well, where we feel at times tired or exhausted, or even, like even seeing that our near or dear patient passed away, it's a setback. And then because we are so connected with our people. But one of my other mentor, Jayesh Bhai from Gandhi Ashram, and he always say that um, do the service that you are doing, but then also get detached, because if you remain attached, then you won't be able to help others. So it's very, very important that when you're serving, you're also detached. It doesn't mean that you don't love that person, you don't care, but then it's very, very important that. So at times, whenever counselors, they also share their stories with me, and then I always tell them that we got a purpose. We are here to fulfill that purpose. When the patient was there, you did your best. You did all you could to help them, to save them, to give them a good life. But then few things are not in our hands, like Nitesh's journey. Outcome was not in my hand, but process was in my hand. So the process was beautiful. Outcome may not be what we expected, but the journey was beautiful. And similarly, now also in my case, when it happens, I think um like that's when I was talking about harmony, that it's very important to keep our mind, body, soul in one place, in balance, because it's not a short journey for a few months or years. It's a long journey. It's a marathon. And cancer itself, there's a millions of patients unfortunately getting diagnosed, and there are many other illnesses also. So if we are on that mission, and if we have that vision to save and heal lives of cancer patients, we need to first take care of ourselves. And how do we do that? So for me, there are a few practices that really helps me in achieving this. So taking some time off, or reading something, spiritual practices, I meditate, I daily do exercise, and having a very healthy routine lifestyle. So because it's easy to get lost in everything that we are doing every day. It's very easy to get swayed by that, and then not being able to come back to our core. So it's we also need a reminder, we also need a wake up call, we also need a nudge that, Dimple, now it's time to. And that's when we see each other, when we see our colleagues, our Zen mates, and we tell them that why don't you take some time off, because it's really needed. So it's, we all got to be there for each other. And when we say, even when at times I'm not keeping well, Kishan or many my colleagues, they do say that you really need, some time off. So just take some time off, be it few hours or one day. But so we got to be there for each other, and having these better life practices really helps us in keeping to our core, so that we are in harmony when we are here to help others. Yeah.
Yeah, true, true. Because detached attachment is a concept from the Gita as well, where he gives the example of the lotus leaf and he says, Padma Patra Mivambasi, be like the lotus leaf, which is in water but learns how to stay away from it. So, yes, it is truly a concept that helps in every aspect of life, not only caregiving, but in your own goals and achieving it, whether you achieve it or not, like you said, the process is all that we can put our best efforts to. Now, as you are looking back at the journey and you are seeing the transformation you're seeing in people around you, is there any particular story, Dimple? I'm sure there are many, but any particular story that instantly brings a smile on your face for the work that you are doing, and you're fortunate to have found your purpose also so beautifully tied to the work that you're doing? Any particular story that instantly comes to your mind about, yes, I found my purpose?
Yeah, there are many stories. I think when my Zen mates, when they send me a message, or when they call and say that, ma'am, there was this case, and then there was no hope, absolutely no hope. And in fact, recently it happened, and thank you for letting me share this experience. When, one of my colleagues, she came and she said that, Dimple ma'am, thank you so much for approving that budget. I said, okay, which budget, what you're talking? And she said that, you remember, ma'am, there was one case who came to center, and then they said that we can't afford this much. And then I came to you, and you said that whatever they can, just do that. Rest we will take care of. So I said, yeah. And then she said that it's been 3 months, and today they are getting better, and cancer is reducing. And they are the same people to whom doctor said that you have only few months to live. So they came to center again and they wanted to meet me. And then when I met them, they were very thankful and they were very, I mean, I could see that spark in the daughter's eyes that nothing will happen to her father. And because he was improving like anything. And for me, it was a big achievement, at the same time, a very humble, deep experience that I couldn't say one Nitesh, but there are many others I'll be able to add value. And my colleague, she said that, Dimple, thank you so much that you approved it. I was like, no, it was nothing, because my fundamentals are very clear that no matter if a patient can afford or don't afford, but I've told this to all the team members that every patient should take the medicine, must take the therapies or the programs that we have, because I know what it can do for them. So whereas everything is secondary, so never say no to any patient. And everybody has their own approvals also that they can do on their own these things. So I mean, knowing that the one patient could survive because of one small thing that I did, or the coach's right guidance, or they were very hopeless when they came to us, because there was absolutely, the cancer was everywhere, and it was a very bad situation. I think that still, when I think about it, it gives smile and joy at the same time, really humble and proud feeling that that's one patient I'm talking, and there are many others like this. Many stories that even I may not be aware, which my team members does, but I think a life is a life, and if even if one life we are able to impact, I'm not even talking about saving or healing. I'm just talking about impacting a life. We have fulfilled our purpose, because that's the opportunity that we have received, and it's not me who is doing it. It's the mystic law who is doing this, who has given me this opportunity. I'm just a medium to make it happen, and ultimately it's everybody's support together. How many hands, how many hearts, and how many minds have come together to make it happen. And it's not one person or one entity, it's thousands and thousands of people, mentors, education, support system, donors, and everything else who have come together to make this happen. So to help that one soul, it's not one person, it's it's greater than that. Yeah.
It's the whole universe that conspires. That's so true. That's so very true. And this podcast was born in the pandemic. You and I is something where I realized that there were so many people going beyond themselves to make a difference to the world. And in the pandemic was the time for reflection. So a lot of us got into a lot of things to understand, mainly into ourselves, to see how we can make a difference to the world around us. You said in 2018 was when your journey began, and the pandemic was in 2020. For a lot of people, it was pause. But what was it for you? Because you must have been in the midst of putting things together and getting things going. What were your experiences from the pandemic and your takeaways from the
Um, right. I mean, of course, pandemic, it was not so good time for anybody. And for us also, we saw struggle in our patients to be able to get access to the timely treatment, because a lot of hospitals were catering to COVID patients, and their non-urgent medical decisions were delayed, or even in some cases there were urgency, but patients couldn't travel due to COVID, and it did take a toll on their overall outcomes or health. So patients were kind of panicked and scared, because one hand it is cancer and second it is COVID, and immunity is very low for cancer patients because of chemotherapy and everything else. So even we were scared that what if we get COVID, and then about patients, they have higher chances of getting it due to low immunity. They were scared, and there were a lot of panic mode among patients, because patients couldn't travel to cities, they couldn't get access to the best of best care, and many times even if they're in the same city, hospitals couldn't give that care, because they just said that if it's non-urgent, we will delay it. But for them, it may be non-urgent. For patient, it is the time to get the treatment. So we did face a lot of such situations, and that's when we saw an opportunity as well, that how can we make the best out of it to be able to give right care to patient at that time itself. So can we really do that? And then we are a startup, and startups have agility, they are innovators. And then that's when we immediately started collaborations across India with hospitals, doctors, and everybody else. And then we started catering to patients, giving them online opinions. And then only and only when critical care is needed, that time we actually help them in arranging to get the timely medical treatment. So a patient sitting in Punjab or Batinda can immediately get a second opinion with the doctor, because there's a lot of logistics and coordination and a lot of things involved in this. And even the doctor is available or not, that's also because they were also serving COVID patients. So we immediately did that. And also we launched a AI based tool during that time, which is Zen Onco.io Integrative Oncology Preliminary Assessment Reports IOPAR. So what it does, and it was also got recognition at ESMO. ESMO is European Society of Medical Oncology, which is the body for all the medical guidelines in cancer care. So it got recognized at ESCO as well, and ESMO. And what this report does, when patient entered their details and profiles, this tool gives them an automatic generative report which tells them about everything about their treatment, how it's gonna be. Ultimately, decision is in doctor hands, but at least they get the right guidance that what all type of test and treatment and lifestyle I need to do in order to get better outcomes. So we that got very viral, and patients got a lot of questions answered via that report. And at the same time, they got a lot of guidance in terms of how do I lead my lifestyle today, if I have to get through this. So that gave some a bit of relief to our patients. And then second opinion virtually and access to the uh, care that okay, that hospital, that doctor is ready to do the treatment for you. So all of that was really helpful for patients. But yes, it was a kind of a time that tested all of us. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think technology was beautifully leveraged by the humankind in COVID.
Yeah.
And today, if these conversations are possible, it's only because it became very seamless for us to get online when we wanted to converse.
True.
The biggest takeaway. Dimple, looking back at your journey so far, how would you like to sum it up? Is there something that you'd like to tell yourself if you look at the little Dimple or the Dimple in college, in engineering college, who wanted to be of service? What would you tell her now?
I would tell my younger self that uh, never give up. You didn't give up then, don't give up now. And be persistent, be courageous, be bold, and always be humble, always be grateful for what you have done, and what it's going to be. And I love a beautiful quote from Mother Teresa that we can do no great things, but only small things with great love. So always have that love, care, and compassion at the core of everything that you do.
And is there something that you want to tell caregivers? Because I'm sure these are your life lessons as well. Do you have any separate life lessons that you would leave us with? Do you have anything as life lessons that you hold very dear to your heart? Or were these three the life lessons that you think you have carried so far?
Right. So, and it's very important question that you asked, because we caregivers at times forget to take care of ourselves. Because what I've seen that even when I was a caregiver, all of a sudden we feel that we are super powers or super women or superman, and it's our duty and responsibility. Yes, it is, but then it's not like you have to suffer, because again, as I said, it's a long journey, and how you are in your mental and physical state will directly impact your patient. So it's not a crime, and you shouldn't have a guilt if you are taking care of yourself when you're taking care of a patient. I had this guilt many times when I was taking care of Nitesh, that oh, I can't take a break, oh, I can't sleep well, oh, I can't eat well, I can't laugh, I can't go out, I can't have my own self-care practices. But what I felt that if I did that, because I did later, when I went to US and I had a support system, when I did that, I could see the reflection in Nitesh because of the same. So it's important to take care of yourself. It's this, you shouldn't have guilt feeling about this. And also it's okay to give a little bit of space to patients in terms of their cheat days and their comfort, because I have put a lot of restrictions to Nitesh in terms of eating and his lifestyle. when I look back, I would certainly change that, because it's completely okay, because I've also gone through certain health issues, and what I felt that we do want certain level of control over our health or over our life. It's not like if there's a disease, then everybody, doctor, family, everybody has taken over the control. Patient do want empowerment. They do want choices to be decided by them. So it's okay to give them a little bit of flexibility to do that, because it will add immense level of happiness in them, because they are not able to work, they're not able to be having independent life, and this is what they can independently decide for them. So we should certainly look into that. And taking care of self is extremely important, and understanding each other during those times, because there's a lot of changes that patients and caregiver go through. Their physical appearance, their behavior, it may not be same always, and that's the time we need to tell each other that I'm there for you no matter how hard it gets.
Dimple, you've shared so much of this journey. And if anyone wants to get into the cancer care space, how do they reach out and how can you help there?
Yes, Rashmi. So there are many people who want to give back, who want to contribute, who want to support others, and there are different ways in which that can be done. So we have a volunteer program. So we call it Project Disha. So we believe that we are somebody who is giving direction, Disha, to patients and caregivers. So we have this project under which somebody can enroll, and also we will be giving them training certifications. Post that, they'll be able to help patients and families as navigators. So they become the cancer care navigators, and they can help people virtually in terms of it also depends on their interest, if they want to give emotional counseling, or they want to help patients with the paperwork, or they want to help with navigating through different resources, or access to the right information, or the right groups for yoga, meditation, healing, or anything. So once somebody enrolls with us, and then we can tell them that where they can contribute to help patients, and at times we will want to donate. So we have NGO which is also ATG registered, so they get tax benefits as well in that, and they can donate, which goes to BPL, below poverty line cancer patients and families who take treatment from government hospitals. And yeah, so community support, guidance, navigators, emotional support, and different kind of supports that one can provide, and we can do the right matching for them.
Oh, wow. So that means I will also share the social media handles that you would share with me. I love the smile on your face when you're saying that, because you're somebody who now takes care of people on both the sides of the coin. As a caregiver, you've seen that side. As a patient, you've seen Nitesh go through the pain. I think this is one of the most balanced ways of looking at life and how you look at challenges of life. Thank you so much, Dimple. I know God has put you with a specific purpose and you really are living that purpose. Shine on, like the famous song, Shine On, You Crazy Diamond, for whatever you want to achieve, because the way you're approaching it is with complete heart. And anything done from the heart will definitely have the approval from above. Stay blessed and continue to inspire. An honor having you on You and I with Rashmi Shetty.
Thank you so much, Rashmi. It was a pleasure sharing my journey with you and many others. And thank you so much for having me here and listening to me so patiently. Thank you.
With that, we come to the end of this weekly quest of You and I with Rashmi Shetty. Do let us know if you know people who make the world beautiful. Write in to rashmi.thethirdeye@gmail.com. That is rashmi.thethirdeye@gmail.com. Come, let's explore this amazing world together, both you and I.